Morning, everybody. So I just cleaned my hands. I'm going to move this back a tiny bit. But these are also my markers because I'm so used to when I have a wireless microphone to walking all around. So it's fun to be together, but a little weird, huh? All this kind of weird stuff, but kind of fun. Okay, so for those of you who have not had a teaching, intergenerational teaching live in the service, I hope you know that this is not all on me. I've deliberately prepared hoping that you're going to share some ideas too. So you could get a little warmed up, could be thinking about this. So was anybody paying attention to, oh, maybe we said it and maybe we didn't yet. So we follow themes when we have our Advent candle. So the first candle that we lit last week, we did that together on Zoom. So I'm wondering if anybody who was watching or lit, and actually I got to talk about that last week too. That's just the way it worked out. Does anybody remember what that candle was? I had a little silver sign. Hope. Yeah, you can just yell out hope. That was the candle of hope. So does anybody remember or know or want to guess what today is? Might even say in your bulletin, peace. Yeah. So we're lighting the candle of peace today. Let's see, is that turned on? All these skill testing question things. I don't. Although I did, that was why I was kind of able to fake that verse from Romans last year. For a long time I had, last week, a long time I had the verse that I kind of ad-libbed in my prayer, and then Gordy was like, Joanna already quoted this, and I was like, sort of quoted it, which is, may the God of all hope fill you to overflowing joy and peace. So if today's the candle of peace, I think the very obvious question that we need to start with is, what's peace? It's like that scene for old people like me in Reality Bites where the guy's in the elevator and he's like, define irony. And then it's like, you can't think of it in the moment. So I thought about this a lot this week. What is peace? I also thought about that bumper sticker where it says visualize world peace, but instead of it being world peace, it's spelled like world peas, like the vegetable. It's not that, I don't think. So I saw this great thing this week. So this is something that some kids that I've seen do around Remembrance Day, where instead of just trying to think about what is peace, you use your senses to think about, well, what does peace feel like to you? So Maggie wrote this. Maggie says to her, peace feels like my cat. Peace tastes like donuts. Peace smells like hot dogs. Peace looks like snow falling. Peace sounds like rain falling. But that's very specific to Maggie. Like in our house, probably we would all agree that peace probably does taste like donuts. But there are several people in my house who would disagree. Peace does not smell like hot dogs, right, Nori? No, no, no. So take a quick second. We're going to do like micro meditations and then popcorn response. So peace feels like, close your eyes if it helps. Okay, what does peace feel like? Okay, for me, it feels like if our cat comes and sits and he purrs, or if somebody in my family holds my hand, that feels like that to me. Somebody else, peace, what does it feel like? Evangeline. Mom, yeah. Warm blankets, what, babe? Fuzzy blankets. Markley? A hug from your kids, yeah. What does it feel like? Somebody else, peace feels like. Oh, so that feels like that. That could be a sight and a sound too. Let's do taste. Imagine for a second if you need to, what does it taste like? Evangeline, what does peace taste like? Chocolate cake. Oh, all three of my kids, foodies. I see, Amy, what do you say? What does it taste like? What do you think? Cheesecake. Pax, you haven't said anything yet. What does it taste like? Butter? Tastes like butter? We love butter. Nori, Sunny, what does it taste like? Chamomile tea. Rose chamomile tea. Isaiah, what does peace taste like? Tell me later if you remember later. Tell me later. Bacon. Karen, what does peace taste like? The Alaska rolls from the sushi garden. Ooh, what's in an Alaska roll? Okay, we got to check it out. Judah, what do you think peace tastes like? A refreshing glass of water. I love that. Matt, good. What does peace taste like? Yeah, and that could be a smell too, right? Like some of these go over into smells. What do you think, Smish? What does it taste like? Strawberry bubble tea with nori, yeah? That you made. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was good. Yeah. Okay, somebody else gives me, let's do all three. Smells like, looks like, sounds like. Smells like lavender. The ocean. Scott. Yes. Sounds like Karen harmonizing with Stephen. That's how you make people feel. I'm sorry. I know Karen really well. Take that in. You sound like peace to people. Oh my gosh. I agree. I agree. Smells like books. Sandra. Yeah, that was a stretch. Sorry, you were just waving. The smell of your kids. You know, Pax has experiences people like that too. Last time he was with my mom, he said, oh, Granny, everybody has a smell. And then he smelled her and said, you smell like comfort and excitement. And she said, well, that's good. I wouldn't want to smell like roadkill. That's my mom's British sense of humor. So peace tastes like, feels like, sounds like, all these wonderful things. And here's the clues I was trying to put together. So I go, peace, yes, beautiful, oh, awesome, great. And the readings today are all about Guy. Did anybody notice that our first reading, middle reading, gospel reading, actually there were little clues all about a guy. You, my child, this is his dad who was talking about him. Going to be called a prophet of the Most High, to shine on those living in darkness in the shadow of death, and you, my son, will guide our feet into the path of peace. Did anybody catch the clues? Who was getting mentioned or messaged? Malachi was, and a messenger is going to come to prepare the way of the Lord. And then the gospel reading just talked straight out about this guy, right? The voice of the one calling in the desert, prepare the way for the Lord. Who was it? Anybody know? Faith? Who was it? Yeah, John the Bee. I call him in my notes, the Baptist. Not a bad word. Sorry, I just realized that's a bad word sometimes. I did not mean that like a bad word. I'm really sorry. My kids will tell me later how embarrassing that is. That's fine. The Baptist, John the Baptist, but also, actually, it's kind of reference to that horrible word, because what do we know about him? Nori? Yeah, he ate some crickets. Yeah, locusts. Right? What else? I mean, some people probably thought he was sort of a bad word. He was not. Yeah, what else? He ate some honey. Was he like a super peaceful, calm guy? No. So I was like, we're talking about peace and we're talking about John the Baptist. So the verses that come right after this quote, the first thing John says is to the people around him, you brood of vipers. And I'm like, this is the guy who is leading us into the path of peace? But he was kind of upsetting. But that was apparently his job, was to lead us into the path of peace. And I was thinking, not really sure how that works. He also says this, prepare the way for the Lord, make straight paths for him. Every valley shall be filled in, every mountain and hill made low. The crooked roads shall become straight, rough ways smooth. All the people will see God's salvation. Well, that's a really nice metaphor if you think, okay, we're going to clear the way. We're going to, it's this lovely thing. Except what do we in BC know about this right now? Like, what does this look like when mountains fall down and valleys get filled in? Like, it's not, I went to my Safeway this week to try and buy a lunch meat. There was nothing in there because trucks can't get through. So again, I'm trying to prepare this sermon and I'm thinking, okay, how does this fit? How are we supposed to be noticing all these things that feel like peace, right? We all have a sense of what peace feels like, tastes like, smells like, but then these clues don't come together. And I really was this week. Nori said to me at one point, Mom, do you want to talk this through? And I was saying, yeah, I do want to talk this through. And I'm trying to connect these dots. And I'm trying to be faithful. And so here is actually the place that I came to. This is one of my favorite Psalms. I've read it a lot. The beginning of it talks about not being fearful. You make Pax stop playing his DS. You can't play your DS during sermon. Now just hiding it. Put your video game away when your mom's teaching. Thank you. So this is a psalm that I've looked at a lot. But the verse that stood out to me was this: seek peace and pursue it. I thought, what does that mean? Seeking peace and pursue it. Well, first of all, seek's pretty easy. We play hide and seek, right? Okay, what does pursue mean? Yeah, I heard somebody say, chase after it, right? Chase after peace. Well, again, that seems a little weird because all of our visions of peace are like calm and quiet. And in thinking about this in the, to do with peace, I started thinking about this phrase here. What does this mean? If somebody says, I think it's probably best if we just keep the peace. Has anybody heard that phrase before? What does that mean? Have you heard that? Keep the peace, what does that mean? Yeah, Sandra? Don't rock the boat. Maybe it's better just to not say anything. Maybe we should just keep things quiet. And sometimes that can be an okay thing to do. Sometimes actually that can be a kind thing to do, but not always. And I've also discovered this really changes depending on the culture that you come from, the family that you come from, whether you identify as a man or a woman. All different things can change as to what keeping the peace looks like. But when I was thinking about this phrase, I don't think it seems like the real peace. Do you know what I mean? Like the inside deep God peace. So then I was thinking about this one, this phrase. Nope, I skipped ahead too fast. Fight for peace or fighting for peace. This seems like another opposite. What do you think this means? What do you think that means? Somebody like fighting for peace. What do you think, Evangeline? Yeah, sometimes people have gone to war. Okay, sorry, a bit louder. You're still fighting each other, you won't get peace, but there have been wars fought in the name of peace. Yeah, what do you think, Pax?
I think it means keep trying to just let it slip.
Don't just let it slip away. So you're keeping on trying to keep things peaceful. Okay, so you're fighting that way. Do you want to have a thought? Okay, what do you think, Flo? You're trying to get peace. Yeah, one of the weirdest things is if you look up what pictures of peace marches and peace rallies look like, they don't often look peaceful. And if you're a kid, you actually shouldn't do, weirdly enough, a Google search of what a lot of peace marches look like, because sometimes they're kind of violent, which is sort of weird, but true. So peace seems to be this thing that keeping it is sometimes fake, fighting for it is sometimes violent. The guy who was supposed to bring us in the path of peace was sort of aggressive. So I was genuinely this week like, how do we connect all those dots? And the other thing too is I just thought to throw in here for good measure, I don't actually have too much to say about this, is this, I just thought, man, we're coming to celebrate Christmas and Jesus is called the Prince of Peace. Yet he wasn't that super peaceful all the time anyway. He said stuff that ticked people off all the time. He annoyed religious leaders. He annoyed political leaders. He annoyed all kinds of people. So what does that look like? And then I was reading in, oh yeah, and this was a thought I had this week, and actually I was talking with Karen and Gordy about this. This really brought things home to me in that in trying to deal with a few different difficult situations in my life, I realized that a lot of times I prioritize keeping the peace over actually working to try and make peace in a situation. I definitely, in my personality, in my family, just the way I'm wired, I tend to go towards this idea of just keeping everybody happy, right? Just don't make a big fuss, as opposed to actually trying to work it out. And trying to work it out and really make like a peaceful situation that people think is fair, I think is harder. So that was something I thought a lot about this week too. But the aha moment came for me actually in thinking about Advent. And not only do we have an awesome Advent devotional that Sandra wrote, I really enjoyed this Advent devotional I got last year, and I've been reading it again. It's an artist named Scott Erickson, and I know a few of you have seen his work. We saw his artwork the first time at a Vineyard conference, and we have a couple of his pieces in our house. And I really like, it's quite an irreverent Advent devotional, but trying to think about just being as honest and not sort of sentimental. And one of the things that he said that made me kind of go, oh, this is how it works, is when he talked about Advent, and we've talked about this a ton of times before. Advent means, it's got right there on the screen, but I just want to draw you back in again. So somebody say it out loud. Coming, right? So coming when? Advent means when? Like, what about coming? What's the thing? Someone what? Imminently. Yeah, imminently. So it's about Jesus coming as a little baby, Jesus coming right now, and the fact that we're waiting for Jesus to come again. So my aha moment when I was getting this sermon ready about peace was that I think for me, a lot of the times, I really focus on the part of Advent about trying to wait to get through all the yucky stuff we're going through to just wait for Jesus to come back. Because I don't know if you've noticed, but there's a lot of really, really hard stuff happening in the world lately. Have you been aware of that? I'm obviously joking. That's even a terrible joke right now. Sorry, that was an awful joke. There's number 2 for today, right? So many hard things that it's really easy to think about, man, I just can't wait until Jesus comes back and I'm just in heaven and all this stuff has gone away. But the moment for me this time was thinking about Jesus coming as a human baby. This is why you should read Sandra's Advent devotional, because she really is good at talking about that. But this idea of Jesus coming as a human is such a big deal. And this is what Scott Erickson writes in this devotion. He said, Jesus coming in a human body like ours is a really big deal because it affirms that we humans are valuable and good and holy, and we're not supposed to be anywhere else than here. So this life that you have right now, this is the life you're supposed to be living. right? Even though it's hard, even though it's yucky, and we're supposed to be in this world right now. From the moment we're born to the moment we die, we're supposed to be here. And so I was thinking that if we are supposed to be here and we have the light of Jesus in us, and the light of Jesus in us right now means that we can see like where we think something is peaceful or not peaceful, where we think something is good or not good, I suddenly thought, wait a second, that has to do with justice. That has to do with things being right or fair. So then I literally Googled, what does peace have to do with justice? Into my voice to text in my phone. What does peace have to do with justice? Well, first of all, there was a super smart paper that I feel like somebody smart like Kirsten could have written that was extraordinary about how peace and justice interconnect and all these definitions. But you know, the first thing that actually came up was a verse from the Bible. Wouldn't you know it? And it says this. That looks really faint. Whoops. It's this. The Lord's justice will dwell in the desert, righteousness live in the fertile field. And I noticed all this morning that word righteousness was all the way through our songs, our readings. I was like, God, you were just leaving clues for me all along. So fairness, right? Part of feeling peaceful is if something happens that's not fair, doesn't it bug you? Like at school or with a friend, or you see it, it bugs me, right? That is right. We want righteousness. That's part of peace. But look what it says about righteousness. The fruit, it's like righteousness is like a tree, and the fruit of righteousness is peace. Isn't that crazy? That's the answer to what is peace. It's the fruit of when righteousness and goodness. So that's what we can depend on as mountains. That's what we sang this morning, right? Your righteousness is like a mighty mountain, and that's a mountain that doesn't ever fall. It's not ever going to fall down, right? And then look what it says next. If you can read, it says this: the effect will be quietness and confidence forever. That's peace. Fairness, rightness, confidence. And then, of course, Martin Luther King. I was like, is there a connection between justice and peace? Well, Martin Luther King mentioned it. I was like, okay, there's some proof there. He was so strong as to say he believed there could be no justice without peace and no peace without justice. And that was at a speech where he was starting to protest the Vietnam War. And people were saying to him, stay in your lane. Why are you getting into all this other stuff? And he just wanted to talk about peace right across the board. So this is, the question that I have for you today is this: how do we seek peace and pursue it? And I don't know about you, but I'm finding this quite overwhelming right now because I feel like there are so many things that are troubling my heart that it can feel really overwhelming to try and figure out how to seek peace and pursue it. So I think, first of all, we can start by doing something that might feel small to us, but isn't small to somebody else, which is one of the reasons why we're going to make Christmas cards today. For the people that live at the Empress Transition House, all of the women that live at the Empress Transition House are there because they've been in a situation of some kind of violence, or it wasn't safe for them to stay where they lived. And so they've moved to this place so that they can have a safe place to live. They also learn how to, if they want to learn how to cook and eat, they do that. They have meals provided to them. There's a community garden there. And our church for a number of years has given them presents at Christmas. And this year, they actually put stuff on a wish list. And instead of getting bags together, we're sending some money that hopefully they're going to get the thing that they picked, which is kind of great. So that can be a tiny thing to us, a big thing to somebody else. One thing for me that I've had to do lately that I just have felt so overwhelmed by, I care about a lot of things, but it's been hard for me to take them in. So I made this time and I sat down with all my emails that came in to different causes that I thought were important, and I picked one. And I wrote in my calendar next week, Amnesty International is having a letter writing day. It's something I can do from my house by myself. And if you want information, I can tell it to you, but I'm going to write some letters. And then the other thing too is just trying to be kind and fair to the people that I have around me. I am a school supervisor. I deal with righteousness and fairness at lunchtime all the time, all the time. It is truly one of the biggest complaints of people in kindergarten to grade 7 if something is not fair. But the reason why the kids that know me there listen to me now is because they know that I will listen to them. So I do listen to them. So I did have a cool thing happen the other day where there was a fight and this one kid wouldn't stop talking and the other kid said, just wait, right? He knew that I would give him a turn. So those are tiny things, but I also feel like it's a big thing because do you remember something unfair that happened to you when you were little on the playground? You can be 60 years old and you can remember that. So I think we can remember little things and big things. So this is the question I want to leave you with this week to think about, to take away with you. If you're going to chase after what it means to be peaceful, how would you do that? But I wondered if we could come back to this again before our benediction. Because if we thought about what peace tasted like, but we added in the ingredients that we've talked about right now. So if we added in the righteousness of God, which is like a mountain that we know is not going to fall. And we added in the idea of bringing justice or fairness somehow. And that righteousness and that fairness is like a tree that got planted. And if peace was the fruit of that, let's be quiet for just a minute and think about it. And then let's see if we could maybe write another poem about peace together. I bet we can. I cheated and wrote one in advance in case you come up with nothing, but I'm sure you're going to come up with something. And I'm so excited to hear what it's going to be. So Holy Spirit, this was such a revelation to me this week. And then I felt like, oh, of course. But it was such a revelation to me this week that peace is not just about feeling fuzzy, but that so many of these things that we say bring us peace are about the people that we love and can trust. The feeling that we have when we're cozy and warm and safe. And those things are righteous and good. And God, you came as a human. And you love our human bodies and human selves. And you promise that you're with us and all around us. Would you speak to us of your peace, God? So what does peace feel like? And there's truly no super right spiritual answer. What does it feel like if you think about righteousness and fairness and justice? What would it feel like? What do you think, Evangeline? God, peace feels like God giving me a hug. What does peace taste like? Healthy food. Shared food. Food shared with somebody welcomed in that maybe wasn't welcome somewhere else. Food that you grew. What about smell? What would the smell of peace be, Mark?
Newly rainy day.
Yeah. dust on a newly rainy day. What do you think, Evangeline? Still smells like your mom. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think he smells like weed. Yes, a hot, warm shower for someone that doesn't have a home. Yeah, that would smell good. What about look? What would peace look like? What do you think? You could write this whole poem. Tell me, what does it look like? It does look like your mom. Your poor mom. It does. It looks like you. It sounds like Karen. It looks like you. Just take it in. What does it look like? Listening to one another. Yeah. Say it again. Hardworking hands. Yeah. Kirsten. A group of people who all belong, diversity and inclusion and belonging. Yeah. Yeah. Scott. Yeah, for people watching, Scott said, it looks like that moment before his pastor hugs him, where he gives him the margin to hug or not hug. Just waiting, right? Waiting. Yeah. I think it looks like the smile on Gordy's face when he talks about Francis going to Rome. Yeah. Yeah. What about sound? What do you think it sounds like? Yes! I love it so much. It sounds like my mom singing. It's true. Anybody who did not get to come to our lament service, Sandra sang from the back over all of us. And if anybody else was like me, there was a moment of like, who's that? And what? And what? She can sing. And okay, now I'm going to listen to this song. It does. Yeah, I thought it sounded like when we all got together the first time and sang, "This is not the end." Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we all know what peace feels like, looks like, sounds like. And so when we see each other and we get to say, "Peace be with you," we have a little bit of a bigger understanding of what that means. So speaking of the guy who extends his hands, we're going to leave that there today. But thank you, everybody, for writing that poem with me today. It was beautiful. Thank you all. And we're going to ask Gordy to bless us with a final benediction and share some family news. So thank you all for preaching such a good sermon today. You did beautifully.